Welcome to Metals and Advanced Manufacturing, the podcast where innovation meets industry. I'm Jennifer Betts, an entrepreneur in the metals industry. With 2 decades of experience from leading roles at Fortune 500 companies to building my own businesses, I bring you conversations with the brightest minds shaping the future of metals, technology, and sustainability. From breakthrough materials to decarbonization strategies and cutting-edge manufacturing, we uncover how industry leaders are building a more efficient, responsible supply chain. Let's get started. Welcome to the latest episode of Metals and Advanced Manufacturing. I'm your host, Jennifer Betts, and this is a new series that is going to broaden your horizon, and it's going to focus to include everyone that's contributing to the technological advancements in metals, covering everything from AI to raw materials to manufacturing to decarbonization, and including software advancements. We're going to be covering work in the industry and innovative technologies, processes that people are involved in, even challenges that people are using innovative solutions, and really bringing value to the industry. And we have a really unique guest on today. We have somebody that is bringing finally some additional technology to the industry in a unique way. We have Sam Shine, Director of Sales at Utility Recyclers International. Sam is a 5th-generation metals recycler and a certified supply chain professional. He's also the co-founder of Freight 130, alongside Adam and Brian Shine of Manitoba Corporation, where they focus on innovative solutions and logistics management software. Based in Denver, Colorado, Sam is a proud graduate of Colorado State University, and he lives there with his wife, Taylor, and their dog, Winston. Pretty excited to have you on, Sam, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this because it's a topic that I've dealt with over the years. And so I'm looking forward to figuring out how you got into this, what came up with the idea, and I'm really wondering, how did you come up with this? So thank you, Sam, for taking the time to come on today.
Well, sure thing. And thank you, Jennifer, for having me. I'm really excited to be here as well and really happy to be part of your new series. So Freight 130 is about 3 years in the making. And it really came out of a need that we had internally. And the need was we have a couple different plants across the country. I work remotely in Denver. So trying to keep everybody on the same page when it came to managing our logistics was proving more and more difficult as time went on, especially in the COVID days when you have people working remotely, of course, people kind of scattered. So it proved to be an even more important need in that time. So we've been, again, developing this technology for about 3 years. We've been using it ourselves for a year and a half. And we're really excited now to be getting it out in front of other users as well, primarily within the recycled materials industry, but not just recyclers, really manufacturers, traders, anybody that handles logistics day to day.
You know, what's kind of interesting about this is when people think about Amazon and buying anything really online, for the most part, they can probably track where it's at in terms of the process, right? And yet when you go to our industry, it becomes a lot harder to actually follow your sales cycle on that, which is crazy from a financial perspective, because your $20 item on Amazon is $20 versus what is a truckload of copper worth, or even how many rail cars or truckloads of the ferrous material that you're moving at your company. It's mind blowing that this is just now coming to the table for companies.
It really is. And something that we found interesting is, to your point, the consumer sector is really driving innovation for the business sector, kind of lagging that way. People expect their packages, like you said, to arrive on time, know exactly when it's going to arrive. If there's any delay at all, people are reaching out to customer service, expecting to know exactly when the package is going to be there. And this has been slower to come to the business world or the business sector. And we were fairly guilty of it ourselves, meaning we were using spreadsheets and sending emails back and forth and picking up the phone and not really relying on technology to provide a lot of those updates, especially to your point today when, copper is worth a lot and there's risk of cargo theft and all of these things that we hear over and over again. So yes, I think that technology was lacking this way, and that's part of what we're trying to address with Freight 130.
So you come up with this idea. How did you even start? Was there somebody in your network that had software as a background? How do you even get into that?
So I'm really lucky to have incredibly great mentors at Manitoba. It's my family's fifth generation metals recycling business. My dad, Brian, and my uncle Adam both are leading that company. And really, I went to them first and I said that I think that there's has to be a better way to do this. And they kind of said, well, go explore a little bit, see what's out there, see what fits our needs. So we did a lot of homework in trying to find solutions. And what we found is that there's a lot of technology available to freight brokers, a lot of technology available to big Fortune 500 companies, but not as much for smaller family owned or growing businesses that just want a better way to manage their own trucking, their own logistics. So that was really the catalyst. And from there, we worked on a plan for developing it and hired developers to do so. And the beauty of this has been we've been able to use it and test it internally to make sure that it works for our own needs before we put it out into the world.
And I have to imagine when you've been talking to some of your beta users and some of the other friends in the industry, you've probably received some positive feedback on this.
For sure. And very fortunate when I show people the app or when we show people the app, we get really positive feedback in terms of not only the capabilities and the value, but how it's laid out. We designed this as recyclers, so we know exactly what we wanted to be looking at. We didn't want to overbuild it where there's all these features that nobody needs or wants. So yes, definitely getting good feedback so far. And the other really nice thing is people say, oh, what will be great is if there's a solution that can help with this part. Or to my earlier point about cargo risk prevalence now, building in tools and systems to address that as well. So yes, it definitely has been encouraging hearing feedback that way.
Most people that are not in our industry would probably assume recycling, sustainability, that whole world must be very sophisticated on top of things. There seems like there's a lot of money that would be going towards that industry. And yet, there is in certain aspects, but when you actually take a look at where that money is flowing, it's not really flowing in terms of the metals recycling area, right? And so our industry has kind of lagged a little bit in terms of getting these types of advancements, these types of development. And it's really impressive to see those individuals within our industry, like yourself, see an issue and say, you know what? There is obviously the technology that exists. If I can follow my Amazon package, I should be able to follow my truck and know where it is and just take it upon yourself to build it.
Well, thank you. And definitely, I think the beauty of the whole thing is we know that it works again, because we use it each and every day and it brings tremendous value even to our family business. So I agree with you. I think that a lot of times in not only our industry, but many industries, technology adoption is very slow and can be cumbersome. So we knew at the very least we're solving a problem that we had. And the great thing is if we can solve someone else's problem as well, that's what we're aiming to do.
I think about the just-in-time manufacturing method and how much this would really help that process, being able to actually know when the raw materials would be showing up. Because as of right now, a lot of manufacturing facilities just have a guesstimate of when it's going to show up.
That's exactly right. So we have a built-in calendar feature and you log in and right away you're looking at all the shipments that are moving throughout your supply chain, both inbound and outbound. So that's exactly right. It gives you more visibility.
So on that note, spoiler alert, You showed me on a previous call the features. We had a quick demo of the platform, and I remember the calendar feature.
Yeah.
Personally, that was a game changer for me. I'm much more of a visual person. That would have been huge versus having to file through emails and PO numbers to find exactly which shipment was going to go with which consumer, etc. What other features? Well, let me back up. The calendar. I'll give you a minute to just explain the calendar feature because I think that in itself, I don't think we gave it enough time for you to explain the greatness of, of the calendar feature, actually.
Well, I'm exactly like you. I'm totally visual. So I needed a way to be able to look just at the day ahead of me or the week ahead of me and say, okay, this is what's coming in, this is what's going out. It beats looking through old emails and trying to match up ship and deliver dates or spreadsheets. You just look at the day ahead of you. You see, okay, this shipment is scheduled to arrive not only on this day, but at this time. And by the way, it's communicating to your carriers as well so that your logistics service providers know when you're expecting the shipment, and they can provide updates through that as well. But yeah, so it's pretty simple in that it just shows you day, week, and month views of what's coming in, what's going out. But we make it really easy where you could filter down and find just the shipments that you're looking for. So whether it's inbound or outbound, being handled by your own fleet versus a third party carrier, these are all things that you could drill down and look for. We even have a way to your point about being visual, change the color of the shipment on the calendar so that if you like, you know, your copper shipments to be green and you like your ferrous shipments to be red, that's really easy to do so with just a click of a button. The nice thing too is everybody from your plant manager to office staff, management is all looking at the same data. So it's not like a game of telephone where you're sending an email and forgot to CC somebody and they're surprised when the truck comes in. So it's all very organized and accessible to anybody on your team.
And that's pretty huge. The communication aspect of any operations is where a lot of essentially the cracks come into play, where when that data doesn't get transferred between key personnel, that's when you have issues. And that's what I noticed about this platform right away is the ability to transfer that data between your employees. And again, the visual aspect was really wonderful for you to be able to take a look at your day, your week, your month from a very macro to micro perspective and know what you and your team needed to do. Kind of curious, what other features does your platform allow for businesses to run through it?
So we have a lot of different features depending on what a customer is looking for in particular. Certain ones might grab them more than others. But just a couple to highlight, and this one kind of applies to anybody using our software, and it's analytics. So we were kind of used to at the end of the month, you see one big number, and it's your total freight spend for that month, and it might not even include shipments that haven't delivered yet that you've already priced in. It might not give you the full picture. So what our application does well is it consolidates all of the data from every shipment that you've run over a period of time. And it generates a pretty simple but holistic report that shows things from total shipment count to total freight spend. And kind of similar to the calendar, you go from, like you said, macro to micro. So you could drill down further and say, okay, I just want to know how much we spent moving copper to this particular customer using this particular carrier. So you could get as granular as you'd like, or you could look at the full picture. And where that comes in handy too is looping in your accounting team. So instead of sending them a spreadsheet or an email with the rate, they can log in, looking at the invoice directly, make sure everything pairs up, make sure that, what the carrier quoted you is what the carrier is billing you. So that makes it really nice just to be able to get a full picture, a more clear picture.
I was about to say your CFO is probably going to be pretty happy with those features.
Definitely. Yes.
When you're building this out, getting the feedback, is that one of the first things that you started getting feedback from your beta users? Was it the financial aspect of things? I have to imagine the financial aspect of things was probably pretty key in addition to the logistics.
Yeah, I think it certainly is something that we get really good feedback on from, like you said, CFOs and management. But the feedback, it's interesting because it really depends on the user type that we're showing the program to. So if we're demoing to a freight coordinator, they're going to really like how they don't have to dig through their emails to compare quotes. Everything's in one place, side by side. Or they'll like that all the shipments are right there in front of them. But yes, from a management perspective or financial perspective, we definitely get feedback that it's nice having all that right in front of you. And it's better than accounting software where it just shows you the total spend or to a specific vendor, because this lets you get more detail.
Now, specifically on the vendors, the freight carriers, one of the features that I noticed, you could note or it tracked whether a carrier was on time or not. And I'm curious if you've gotten any feedback from the vendors or the freight carriers, A, if they're aware of that feature, or B, how favorable are they to that feature? I'm sure your users are a fan of that, but I don't know if the carriers, the vendors are a fan of that.
How it was working, at least internally for us before, is these were all metrics that we were tracking anyway. And it was basically we would come up with a scorecard. So we would have a spreadsheet, try to put in different variables. So like if they were on time for pickups, on time for deliveries, how often they fell off of a load, or also things like communication, document exchanges, how quickly they submitted an invoice. So all that we were already tracking, but this just made it a lot easier for the shipper to be able to track it all using data that already exists in the system. So you're not reinventing the wheel. In terms of the carrier adoption, one of our questions early on was how will carriers respond to the system? Will they sign up? Are they going to enjoy using the program? Will they complain about it? And that's still a question we get from almost everybody we show the software to. And what we found, at least for our own carriers and feedback from customers and other users as well, all the carriers so far have jumped aboard. They're used to using technology, so it's not really a big deal for them to go in and submit a bid on your shipment or upload a bill of lading, booking document. So they overwhelmingly have been big fans and big proponents of the software. It keeps them better organized as well, and it keeps their customers happy.
That's good to hear. And it makes sense. You've probably been tracking and rating those vendors for like years or decades, if not formally, informally. Probably everyone has been doing this for a while.
Exactly.
In terms of going forward, you decided to take this from internal to external. Was there a particular moment that sparked that decision to say, this is something that would benefit others outside of our company?
I don't think it was as much a particular moment, but more of an evolution of seeing how happy our own staff was in using the software. And as you can imagine, we're a 108-year-old family-owned business, and we were very much kind of used to doing things the way they've always been done. So while our staff was certainly open to using it, there was some concerns around how easy it would be to adopt or changing over to a new system. But once we saw how much our own staff liked using it, from the plant manager to our freight coordinator and accounting, we thought, okay, maybe we have something here. And we started to show people in our industry and got really good feedback from others as well. So that was kind of a, validation that we were probably needing before we actually released it.
I just want to point out that a company that has a 108-year history, if they can adopt and utilize new technology, other companies with less years in this industry that is somewhat known for not changing can also adopt and change and utilize new technology. So I just want to, a little asterisk on that note there. So that's pretty cool to hear, because you hear fifth generation, you hear over 100+ year company, you're prefacing everything, setting up the story to then say, and then it didn't work. Like that's how essentially what I was waiting for you to essentially say. But the fact that you're saying your fellow coworkers jumped on it, I think is a really testament to your company culture as well. Being willing to take a leap on something that's outside the norm. Because again, not to overgeneralize our industry a little bit, but we're not exactly known for going outside, which is exactly why I wanted to step up and showcase this particular podcast, because there are some really cool things that are happening in our industry that are innovative and outside the norm, and it is slowly changing. But I just want to give you and your company really great kudos for what you're working on over there, because it is changing. I think there is a movement going on in the metals and recycling world that is breaking the mold and breaking kind of that stereotype.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I think it's really a testament to our staff and being innovative and open to change, being willing to take a risk for payoff. Even to your point, if you don't know that there is a payoff at the other end, makes it tougher to dive in. But yes, I agree with you. And I think that our industry is a mature industry in a lot of ways. But I think what is exciting to me is when I go to a young professionals event through REMA, our trade association, I find that the younger generation is very open and excited about learning about these changes. And not only that, but able to communicate that excitement and that passion to the older generations at their company and kind of having them take that risk or at least look at it. So I'm feeling encouraged by some of the events I've gone to and questions we've been getting.
I agree. I don't have the exact stats in front of me for REMA, which is the Recycled Materials Association, but I have noticed at recent events for the young professionals over the past several years that those events have gotten larger, just seeing those particular numbers grow. And then I was at the Women in Steel conference that's put on by AIST, the Association of Iron and Steel Technology. And they did have a stat that said that the majority of women in the steel industry are under the age of 35. So the youth, if we're going to call under 35 the youth in our
Please do.
industry, right, it is a growing number in the metals industry. And what you're working on in this space is a testament to that. And it's showing that your staff is adapting, showing that they're latching onto this new technology. Your users are putting this product out there, this software product out there that is very much overdue, by the way, in the industry. So it's pretty impressive to see that, yeah, it's 2024 and we're just now getting the tracking
Yeah.
logistics in the metals recycling space, but it's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. I know it's self-serving to agree, but I do think that it is time for more technology adoption and taking a look at solutions out there. Not only a matter of survival when competitors adopt technologies that might put them ahead of where you are today, but also in terms of opportunities. So it's not just protective, but it could be opportunistic of saying, for example, okay, we're spending way too much money shipping from here to here, where there could be an opportunity to cut back or to consider using another third party provider. So giving kind of a full picture of both opportunities and things to avoid as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are approaching a little bit towards the end of the episode. And so before we head off, I want to give you an opportunity to touch on any additional points, features of Freight 130 to make sure that if there's any area that we did not cover, give you a few minutes to talk about before we head out.
Sure. Well, thank you. And this has been great talking about this with you. I think a couple other features that we've gotten really good feedback on are simply document exchanges. So that's something that we didn't really expect people to rave about or say that this is really a problem in terms of tracking down documentation from bills of lading to proof of deliveries, scale tickets, anything that helps your team pair up an invoice that comes in from a logistics provider with your own records. Having everything in one place, kind of like a digital filing cabinet, has actually been proven to be really an efficient feature, something that makes organization easier from everything from providing that to a supplier or a customer or matching up invoices as they come in. So that's one feature I wanted to touch on. And then the other feature too is this makes it just really easy to get quotes back from your existing approved providers. So we're not selling transportation solutions or suggesting carriers that you might not be aware of. This is simply a tool to collaborate with your existing approved, trusted providers. So it gives you a chance to interact directly with the carriers you're already familiar with, track insurance expire dates, save documents for a carrier. So it's really a nice collaboration tool in addition to management and communications as well.
And that's definitely going to help a lot of companies streamline their logistics and obviously save time, money, improve efficiencies. And again, I'm still quite blown away by the calendar feature, just from a visual perspective. So, Sam, I just want to say thank you for hopping on today and sharing what you're working on at Freight 130. I really appreciate it. For those that want to get a hold of you the best way, LinkedIn, is that the best way to get a hold of you or to visit Freight 130's website?
Yep, either would be perfectly fine, or you could email sam@freight130.com. So whatever your preferred method is, we'd love to hear from you and show you the features.
Wonderful. Well, Sam, I really appreciate you hopping on today. Today's guest on metals and advanced manufacturing is Sam Shine, Director of Sales at Utility Recyclers International. Sam is also the co-founder of Freight 130 alongside Adam and Brian Shine of Manitoba Corporation. Sam, thank you so much for hopping on and really great what you're working on and continued success. Best wishes to you and your team.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for the opportunity, and it was great talking with you.
Thank you.